Hello. What I want to speak to you about is trust. And trust is one of the 4 feminine power principles that I decided was a principle. So this is something that I've created. And the principles are trust, appreciation, confidence, and boundaries. And I'm going to speak to each of these topics throughout the week. And I'm going to start with trust. So, due to certain family dynamics growing up, certain experiences that we've had in relationships, and before I get into it, I want to speak to the fact that I am speaking to a heteronormative dynamic with female feminine, male masculine. But if you're watching this and that doesn't resonate with you, then what I'm saying will still apply, because regardless of what polarity we're in, there's some masculine and feminine dynamic playing out. Hi Rebecca, hi Carrie. Is it not going to tell me how long I'm speaking for? Okay. So, trust. So due to certain family dynamics that we grow up in, certain experiences that we have with men, we develop a sense of trust or distrust, right? And when we take these beliefs or these emotions that were created through childhood, when we take these into our adult relationships, this will often be the lens which we see reality through. We see ourselves through, and we see men through. And the way this manifests is that we think we need to not trust men in order to be safe. So if I stay hypervigilant, if I have my wits about me, if I expect the worst, if I make him prove himself to me before I open my heart, then I'll be safe. So we're entering relationships from this attitude of self-protection. I'm not going to trust him because he might break my heart, because that's what every other guy has done to me. Or I never felt safe as a child with my family, so how can I trust anyone to stay or to honor my vulnerability? And so we keep this lens of I can't trust anyone intact because we think that it's actually helping us. And sometimes we actually think that this makes us more valuable. If I make him prove himself to me and I show him that my heart's not open and that he needs to earn my trust, then maybe I'll be seen as a high value woman. If I let him know that my heart's open and that I trust him, he might take advantage of that trust. He might break my trust. So I need to let him know in one way or another, directly or indirectly, that I don't trust him yet. And often we're doing this very subconsciously, right? But we're keeping up our walls because we feel more empowered, we feel more in control, and we feel safer. And so the way this plays out, it plays out in 2 distinct ways from what I see. Is it plays out in, because we have already decided that men can't be trusted, relationships aren't safe, we then magnetize and attract relationships with men who we can't feel safe with, who don't show up consistently, who aren't emotionally available, or who we can't genuinely trust, because they don't have the stability or certainty within themselves to give us that trust. So just by having this belief on its own, we can then actually magnetize to us men that we can't trust, because this is the story that we're telling. The story that you're telling has everything to do with the reality you experience. And that is all. It's the story that you're telling. Now, this story would have served you at some point in your life when you was a child, and you did feel unsafe, and it was unsafe to be vulnerable or expect to be nurtured. There was some safety in you not expecting that. But now you're out of that environment, it doesn't serve you anymore. But because we don't realize that we're running these programs, we don't set ourselves free from that environment. We don't wake ourselves up and go, hey, you don't need to stay in fear anymore. You don't need to keep protecting yourself from the world. You don't need to keep playing out these patterns where you feel the same as you did when you was a child. The other way that it plays out is we might have a guy that genuinely wants to show up for us, whose heart is open, but because we have these stories, we will never believe it. We will never trust him. Because this program is so ingrained, we will seek out evidence to prove that we're not safe, to prove that we can't trust him. So no matter what he does, we've already decided, nah, I can't trust him, I can't let my walls down, I can't fully open my heart because it's not safe. So you see, we create a self-fulfilling prophecy by running this story that men can't be trusted, relationships aren't safe. And what actually happens is, if the guy feels that you don't trust him, he will then defend himself and close his heart in some way. He might pull back, become distant. He might feel that he can't really be his true self with you because it's never good enough. What he does is never enough. So the relationship feels heavy. It then dampens his willingness to show up and show his best self to you, because he already feels like, well, I'm just every other man she's been with. I'm her dad or I'm her ex, and no matter what I do, it's never enough because she doesn't trust me. She doesn't open her heart to me. She doesn't let me see her. And so what would actually inspire a man to show up and what would activate his masculine energy is if he felt trusted by you from the get-go, without having to prove himself, without having to earn it. And that doesn't mean that no matter what a guy does, we don't have any boundaries or standards. It means that our resting point is, I trust you, my heart is open to you. Because then the man feels that he's seen, he feels respected, he feels appreciated. And that's really activating for a man, because that's the place that he wants to show up from. Like, wow, this woman trusts me. What a gift. She doesn't expect the worst in me. She doesn't have her walls up. Her heart isn't closed. She's not making me into every other guy she's known. What a gift. And as I say this, you might be thinking, well, yeah, in fantasy world, that would be great. Because we've built up such a habit of protecting ourselves and keeping our hearts closed that it feels impossible to trust, because we've accumulated so much evidence in our lives to tell us why we can't trust men, why it's not safe to let our walls down. And we keep proving ourselves right with this story. And what would break the pattern, what would create the new story, is if we trusted, if we felt the fear anyway and trusted, if we chose to see the best in him, if we chose to hold him to his highest, if we chose to believe in him. I invite you to see what happens. I invite you to see the difference in how the relationship feels. When there's distrust, the relationship feels heavy. There's resentment. When there's trust, the relationship feels freeing. It feels light. It feels joyful. It feels like both people can really be themselves, can be authentic and open and honest. If you don't trust him, you're not letting him see you. And if he feels you don't trust him, he's not going to let you see him either. And what a shame. What a missed opportunity that we keep running these relationship patterns where we don't let people see us because we're staying in fear. Because our ego and our identity wants to hang on to the story that it isn't safe for me. I don't get to be loved. I'm not a priority. My vulnerability isn't welcome. They will always leave. They're not interested in commitment. If that's the story that you're committed to, that's what you will experience. That's what you will repeat. And it takes a lot of awareness and patience and practice to trust. But when you make a commitment to trust, guess what? Everything in your body, all parts of you that feel that if they trust, they're going to die. If I trust, I will be in danger. This relationship will fall apart if I trust. And that's the portal of healing. That's the opportunity to transmute and let go of these stories and these energies and parts within you which want to stay in fear, which want to stay in distrust, which want to keep walls up to the people around you. And when you commit to trust, you create an invitation for yourself to heal all parts of you that don't trust. And it's uncomfortable, and it's raw, and it's an ego death. But what's on the other side of that is beautiful. What's on the other side of that is intimacy, is connection, is pleasure, is joy, is soul-aligned love. So this series that I'm doing, the Principles of Feminine Power, is in relation to the course that I've just launched, Feminine Magnetism, How to Attract and Keep Him. It's a really juicy course where I'll be teaching you how to love men through your feminine power in a way that feels authentic and heart-centered, so that the men around you can see and feel that you're a woman who knows her worth, who is empowered, and that's a woman he wants to keep showing up for. That's a woman he's inspired to be around, who he feels safe with. So I'm going to be giving you healing processes, tips, coaching on how to be a woman in her feminine power. It's a really low cost but jam-packed course, and I want to get as many women on board as possible. I'm super excited about it. So if you're feeling curious and want to know more, please reach out to me. It's only £111 or $150 US. So please get in touch if you're feeling that. Thank you for listening. I am looking forward to doing the next content on appreciation. So stay tuned and lots of love. Mwah.